You might think that money blocks or limiting beliefs around abundance are something inside you, something to fix. But what if they're just the result of outside forces, whether that's family patterns, societal conditioning, ancestral influences, or even karmic imprints? Because if that's the case, and I believe that it is, then you can stop thinking that there is something wrong with you and actually reclaim your energy and your sovereignty. In this video, I'm going to share 5 places that money blocks can come from, and stay tuned because I'm also going to show you that there is a profound gift in every single one of these places, and then you can use those gifts to rewrite your money story and really call in the abundance that you want. I used to think that my relationship with money and abundance was just a part of who I am, and that I'd learned certain things in my conscious mind that contributed to me believing that I wasn't really a money person, that I was much more aligned with creativity and spirituality than I was with money. But I've learned that this is a very limiting and false perspective. Firstly, because the relationship that we have with abundance and money is not just a result of things that we are consciously aware of believing, but it's also entangled with these different levels of blockage that I've been talking about in some of my recent videos. But also, I realized that the separation between creativity and spirituality and money is a false binary, right? That these things are not necessarily one or the other. Actually, the idea that we have to make a choice between these two things is a fundamental misconception. And I have chosen to rewrite that story for myself and step into a spiritual business where I can be extremely abundant, and not only be abundant for myself, but also spread abundance to every person I come into contact with. And that feels like an alignment with my soul's highest expression. So I share that because I don't want you to feel like where you are now is where you will always be, because I know from personal experience how amazing it is to actually transform this relationship and become somebody that you did not think that you could be in the past. So I'm going to talk through 5 places that I think money blocks can come from, and then show you the gift that is in each one of these places. The first place is, as you're probably well aware, childhood conditioning. There are so many things that we can pick up from our family, from society, when we're very young. Our brains are extremely malleable between the ages of 1 to 7, and we're just absorbing stuff all the time. And we're also witnessing, what our parents and what our friends and our people in our local environment are believing and doing in relation to money. I always remember Paul McKenna talking about somebody who remembered a parent saying to them, "Oh, you don't want to be successful because successful people have heart attacks." And that young person then internalized the belief that it's not safe to be successful, it's not safe to have money because money's going to make you sick. And I was actually sharing with someone just this morning that money making me sick was one of my own personal blocks, and I realized this through a breathwork ceremony where I just realized that this was something that had been lodged quite deeply in my subconscious, and likely something that I picked up when I was quite young and just took to be the truth. If you see as a young child that money is associated with stress, maybe it caused arguments or maybe it caused struggle in the family, then again, you can sort of start to associate money with danger, a lack of safety, and that can influence the way that your nervous system behaves around issues of abundance and wealth and financial stability. The second place that money blocks can come from is societal conditioning. We live in a society that prioritizes hustle culture. We have come to believe that the only way to be financially successful or to be honest, successful and valuable at all, is by working incredibly hard. We almost praise people for their busyness, and this is something that I believe has put a lot of people out of alignment with their own body's rhythms, with their natural capacity for abundance, in a way that's quite invisible unless you really start to look at it in more depth. The next place that money blocks can come from is the collective consciousness. I feel that there's also the potential for us to, without realizing it, tune into a collective energy of lack. If a lot of people are operating from scarcity consciousness, that could be creating a kind of collective energy field of lack. And then without realizing it, we tune in and then we actually take that to be our own truth, when in fact it is something collective that's outside of us. The next place that money blocks can come from is from ancestral patterns. I know that a lot of you have already done my ancestral wealth block clearing, and I'll put a link below to a downloadable ad-free version of that if you would like to do it again. In our lineage, there may well have been lots of situations where there was scarcity, where there was adversity, where our ancestors had to contend with extremely difficult circumstances. And, you know, those stories, those experiences could be passed down through the generations epigenetically or energetically as well. The final place where money blocks could come from is past lives. Now, you may align with the idea of past lives or you may not. And I always invite people to, take what's useful for you, take what feels good for you and leave the rest. But the idea here is that you may have had different incarnations where you did, again, have a difficult relationship with money. Maybe there was some heartbreak or loss associated with money that caused you to enter into a vow of poverty. You decided never to let that happen again. Or maybe there was a situation where you had a lot of money, but it caused a lot of division. And when I've done my own work around this, that is actually what came up for me. I had a sense that in a different time, in a different place, I had a huge amount of wealth, but that wealth was very divisive and it caused me a lot of sadness because of the way that it created separation. That allowed me to, again, make sense of my relationship to money in a different way. That's a very personal experience to me, and it's something that if you feel drawn to, you can explore as well. I'm going to share with you a gift that I believe exists in the space where each of these kinds of money blocks can appear. But before I get into that, if you are enjoying the video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you feel called to do so. All right, so let's talk about the gift that comes around childhood conditioning. I believe that as children, we are excellent manifestors. We have a much more unbridled imagination when we are young than we have when we're adults, because we kind of learn to minimize our imagination. We actually don't privilege it as much as we do when we're children. Even though there could be lots of moments where you learned something limiting about money as a child, and by all means, send so much love and compassion to that version of yourself, that part of yourself that felt unsafe around money when you were young. Send love and honor and admire and respect the part of you that was an amazing manifester when you were a child, when you could actually conjure up any kind of reality and you didn't have any limitations, you didn't have any blocks, you had loads of natural gifts, and it was just fun for you to try and conjure into reality the things that made you feel excited. So I would really invite you to honor yourself, honor that part of yourself, and know that there's actually something for you to learn from the inner child, which, yes, it may be wounded, but it's also incredibly gifted and it has something to show you. Then when we look at the societal conditioning, what an amazing opportunity to choose to rewrite a story. When you start to become aware of some of the myths, the narratives, the codings that come from society, you get to actually step out, some might say step out of the matrix, and choose to do it differently. And as soon as you choose to see things differently, to act differently, you start to cut a new groove into reality, and other people can follow in your direction. How many times have you seen somebody go against the grain in a way that was really inspiring, in a way that made you feel like, actually, no, it is possible to do things in a way that feels aligned with my soul's purpose, with my truth? And actually, you get to be that person for somebody else or for many, many other people when you reframe societal conditioning. What's the gift in the collective consciousness? If you're here watching this video, you're already aware that we are experiencing a big collective shift in consciousness anyway. Many people understand and sense that the old paradigms are falling away. New kinds of ways of being in the world, of showing up, of connecting with source are emerging all the time. And this is an opportunity for you to tap into that part of the collective consciousness that is going to lift you up, that is going to propel you forward. And when you start aligning with souls who are on that same path of awakening, of upliftment, of rewriting the old codes, then you're going to feel a lot more momentum. You're going to feel a lot more ability to manifest and bring in abundance, because you're part of a bigger movement, part of the collective consciousness raising itself up and calling in that new light and that positive energy. The gift in our ancestral patterns is that, yes, our ancestors experienced loads of adversity, but also they were amazing. I don't want to think about my ancestors or your ancestors as victims. I want to think about them as incredible, wise people who transformed their struggles and that had a lot of gifts. There might be loads of things in your past that can teach you something for the present, that are actually part of the things that you are amazing at in this lifetime. There's an opportunity there again to not only see your ancestors in a way where they were wounded, but where they were incredible and where they want you to bring forward some of the wisdom and the gifts that they had. In the space of the past lives, it's a little bit similar. It's not just the case that there was adversity and pain and struggle in your past lives, if that's something that makes sense to you and that you believe in. I had one client quite a long time ago. I was doing an Akashic Records reading, and we were actually asking about what gifts were there in a past life that might be coming forward into this lifetime. And I got the sense that this person had been actually an astronomer, that there was something in the way that they were able to read the stars that translated into their ability in this time to really be quite a powerful leader. In fact, they were a teacher, and they were really good at kind of getting people on board and sharing information in a very simple to digest way. And it felt like that experience they'd had in the past was in some way coming through now, and part of their brilliance, part of what makes them so amazing and so magnetic and able to help other people. So I really hope this has helped you to see that, yes, we might have lots of blocks. Yes, they come from lots of different places, but there is a gift in every single one of these places. I want you to imagine that every time there's a block, there's a little beautiful sprout, growing into a flower and blooming and blossoming for the purposes of healing, for the purposes of expansion and evolution of your soul. So I hope that has served you well. I really appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Much love. Bye.